if screen time, social media, if all of that shows us anything, is that when we get to heaven, we're not going to be able to tell Jesus we didn't talk to him more because we didn't have enough time. It spoke to me a lot with this experience with fasting and food. It's like, whoa, it is not that I don't have enough time in the day to talk to Jesus. It's that even when I have time, I still try to fill it with something that isn't Jesus.
Fasting doesn't have to be held to food. It can be a break from social media. It can be a break from a relationship. It can be just time away from your phone, whatever it may be, whatever you think that is an idol in your life, and taking a break from that can be considered fasting. So
we have an interesting episode this week. Funny enough, this past week, Hunter and I both did something, well, kind of interesting. Nothing crazy, but something out of the ordinary for us. But it's also something that as believers we're called to do. And I think when we think about the mission of the show and why I get so excited to talk with people on the show, but also talk with my fiance on the show, it's because the mission of the show is to remind every single person you have a ministry. Ministry isn't just for preachers and pastors. It's the way you shine God's light in every area and space that you do. And I think when we think about that, there's a lot of spiritual disciplines and things that Jesus talks about that contributes to us having the energy and the discipline and the stamina to shine God's light in all that we do. And some of those things can be super uncomfortable. So this week, Hunter and I decided, baby, do you want to say what we did?
Go ahead. Break the news for me.
So it was last Saturday. Last Saturday, we were grocery shopping. No, we weren't.
We were pulling into Whole Foods and to get.
Well, because we were getting groceries to make dinner, but we weren't getting like groceries for the week.
Right.
And he has a buddy. It wasn't Max, was it? It was someone else. Okay. He has a buddy that told him recently, like, I'm doing a 7-day fast. Fast being defined as no food or drinks other than water, basically. So Hunter told me about this, and you guys know, I've talked about fasting on here before. I used to be like a neurotic faster, and that's something that Hunter and I we had to work through a lot, because it was really like when we had just started dating and all this stuff, like it was to the point where if I was fasting till 4:00 that day, it would be 3:58, wasn't allowed to eat. Like it couldn't be until 4. And I think when we think about fasting, even in the Bible, Jesus doesn't say if you fast, he says when you fast. So 1, fasting is a spiritual discipline and it's important to do, but 2, just like anything in life, it makes a super bad God. You know what I mean? Like anything that's not God, it makes a bad God. And so my experience with fasting, how long has it been since I've like been doing my crazy fasting? Probably like 6 months.
Maybe more than that. Yeah.
Like a little over 6 months. That I haven't been like intentionally, like, I mean, there's some days I don't eat till like 11 or 12, but it's not because I'm like, I have to do that. But it's been a while. So when Hunter brought up this concept, I thought it was really cool, but we didn't really think anything of it until it was Saturday when we were making dinner, is when we kind of started talking about it more. So we were making dinner on Saturday, and then Hunter was like, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do the fast, like, with him. And I was like, well, I'll do it. I guess, okay, what was going through, when you wanted to do the fast, what was kind of going through your head?
So, one, thank you again for having me on the podcast.
Showing his gratitude.
Such a blessing.
My words of affirmation self. We're in premarital counseling right now. And Communication is session number. So you get an A+ for today.
But no, it really is. I enjoyed it. But my experience, and Annie shared her experience fasting up until this point. My experience was a little different. I hadn't really played around with fasting too much in my life up until maybe a few years ago. And I've only done probably 3 or 4 fasts in my life, but just water fasts. And that's something else. Like fasting, I also want to just say that from the beginning, is like fasting doesn't have to be held to food. It can be a break from social media. It can be a break from a relationship. It can be just time away from your phone, whatever it may be, whatever you think that is an idol in your life, and taking a break from that can be considered fasting. So also just wanted to clarify that as well. But my experience with fasting is a little different. I, again, wasn't super into it. I'd only done a max of a little over 2 days total with just a water fast. And so when my friend had kind of told me about this 7-day fast, I was like, I'd heard of people doing longer term fasts, but I thought they were just crazy or making it up on the internet. But also, like, Jesus did a 40-day fast in the wilderness, and I was like, but to me, I was like, well, that's Jesus.
Yeah,
that's
he's son of God.
That's not something we can do. And so, like, I was kind of intrigued by the fact. I was like, I didn't know that, one, that's possible, two, just like pushing myself. And so when he brought that up, it kind of struck something in me, and I just kept dwelling and coming back to that feeling. And so I was like, maybe I'm going to give this a shot, and just see what God's got stirring in me. And so, luckily, I have someone that knows all of the stuff about fasting.
I do know a lot about
health
fasting.
benefits, how to break it, all of that stuff. And so that was a blessing to have you on my side. But but that was my experience with fasting up until this point.
Yeah, which I think is important because we live in now I'm not going to get into all the health benefits because I couldn't. I'm not a health benefit fasting specialist. That's not the point of this podcast episode, but it is mind-boggling, blowing craziness how phenomenal your body is. So powerful when you fast. And I've always been very intrigued with fasting because I, just being an athlete and getting a lot of injuries over the years, it's like your body is literally designed to heal itself. But we a lot of times get in the way of our body's healing, and fasting, we'll go into all the why and all that stuff. But I think the biggest thing here is I do believe that we live in a world that we are so overstimulated in every single capacity, whether that is social media, communication, connection, just movies, media. Like, we're never bored anymore. It's the same with food. Like, we are just, if you're living in like a Western country, you know what I mean? Like, I recognize there's a lot of people from different countries listening to this podcast. If you're living in the United States of America, majority of people, we have so much access to food. Throughout the entire day, and we just are overfilling and filling and filling. And I think for me, like, kind of why I wanted to do this with Hunter is, one, I fasted for so long by myself. I am telling y'all, it is night and day crazy easier and better when you do it with somebody else. Two, I do think, and we'll kind of get into our reflections and all the stuff, but I was thinking about like why I wanted to do it. I've always fasted for a health benefit. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I want to help with this injury. I want to maybe even, I'll say, slim down a little bit, or like from that perspective. And it's very effective for that. But I think when you go into it for the perspective of like, God, what do you want to show me in this? Like, if I'm actually fasting to just figure out, Lord, what do you want to reveal to me? It is crazy. Like, when you actually fast, aka do what people have always done in the Bible. David, when he took the census and he knew he messed up, he fasted. Like, our preacher at Buckhead Church, Joel Thomas, talked about this it was Matt Noblin. Was it Matt or Joel?
I don't know what you're about to say.
So there was a sermon on fasting, and we naturally do this. Like, when you're heartbroken, when you're sick to your stomach about something that happened, you don't eat. Like, our bodies naturally do the thing that God literally designed and said is good for us to do. That's crazy. Just to me, that's so wild, that's something that, like, if you have a big decision to make, it's pretty typical. You're not stuffing your face with food while you're about to make that decision, because your body's like, I don't need anything right now. I just need space. I need to process something. And so a lot of my intent this week was like, I just want to figure out, I don't know, I want to create space, God. Like, for me, I've had a lot of things, kind of loose ends going on in my life from a career standpoint, and a passion standpoint, and I've expressed some of that on this podcast. And I was like, okay, like let's clear some space, create some time, and let's start fasting. So let's just say what that looked like. So literally what that looked like is we had our last meal Saturday night at 7.
Yes.
Yeah, we finished eating around 7 or something. And then we went, so it was nothing but water, and for me, decaf black coffee. I definitely was still going to have my decaf black coffee. So nothing but water and decaf black coffee. And we were gunning for, I think I knew I was not going to do the full 7 days. I'll be honest, starting out of this, I kind of knew I was not going to get the full 7 days. But at the same time, I was proud of myself. It's the longest I've ever gone fasting. So I made it a little over a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or no, Saturday, Sunday, a little over 3 days. So I woke up Wednesday morning, actually woke up, and this was not because of the fast. I drank this tea. You can also have tea if it's not sugary. I drank this tea that was old, and I woke up throwing up the tea, and I was like, it's time to get something in the system. So Sweet Hunter brought me some Pedialyte. But all that to say, I made it the longest I ever did without fasting. And I want to get into kind of like what I found and what I reflected on, but like, what did that look like for you practically? You didn't really drink anything but water.
Yeah, I pretty much only had water, and then I started toward day 4 and 5.
Electrolytes.
Taking some electrolytes.
Oh, Element
and
is
that's
amazing.
Important. It really is.
So
to
important.
Stay hydrated.
So important.
And yeah, really be, if you do think about fasting, like make sure that you are drinking water. It's important. Your body needs that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I made it just about 5 days. And we can get into, the feelings on each day and what we saw. But I pretty much only had water and some electrolytes being elements.
Yeah. And that's so important. And something else I'll say too, this is, so if you are interested in fasting, again, we're not fasting experts, but I watch, there's literally a YouTube video on the science behind intermittent fasting up on this other screen, because I just watch it for fun. I watch YouTube videos for fun. Dr. Mindy Pelz, Mindy, she does, especially, I know 80% of you out there are females listening to this podcast. Fasting for females is so much different than fasting for males. And I want to call that out because I'm a very competitive person. Hunter's a very competitive person. It was honestly, I knew I was going to break the fast, and that was very hard for me because I knew Hunter hadn't broken his fast yet. And part of me was a big ego pill to swallow, to be like, I'm throwing up, I need food. Or not I need food, it was just I need electrolytes. I was so I had no electrolytes in my body. I need to do a better job of that next time. But also, just to point out too, because I know we're mostly females here, where you're at in your menstrual cycle is incredibly important for when you fast. Makes sense, right? I mean, the week before your period, you feel like you can eat anything. That's because, not that you need to, but progesterone is high, all this stuff. The chemicals it'll speak for itself. And if you look at Dr. Minnie, I'm not going to get into that, but timing is everything. And so even for me, I couldn't have gone past the time that I did this past week because of where I'm at in my cycle.
But I also want to say towards the competitiveness thing, that wasn't our intent. It wasn't to outlast the other. And that's not why we went into it with. Our intention was to truly see, truly see God in this. And we're at a major, we're going to a major season of our life where we're going to be getting married here. And so, I think this was at least for me too, something that you see time and time again in the Bible of, these characters that when they're faced with a big decision to make or a big season, a big chapter in their story, you see them fast and really connect to the Lord in this way. And so that was at least some part of our intention going into this, not to outlast the other.
But I think I'll add to that because we're not perfect and we will never paint the picture that we're perfect. Our intent absolutely was to see the Lord. But I'll be darned if I told you that on day 2 when I was hungry, I was not breaking that fast because Hunter was not going to break as fast. Like, God will use your competitive nature. I think about when I ran cross country in college my senior year. Like, oh yeah, there were times I wanted to slow down. But I wasn't going to because Susie over there was not going to slow down. And I say that because God, I think he can use everything. This is just a side note here. Yes.
Well, it's also
our
an accountability.
Yeah, accountability.
Accountability is so important. Even if you do not have the right intention, having someone that holds you accountable is so important. And that speaks to, having good people in your life that have similar values and push you in godly ways. So
yeah, it's so important to have
but we're getting off.
No, this is very on topic. I think it's like, because when you think about spiritual disciplines, especially ones that are hard, like fasting, when you do it with other believers and you take that seriously, it's not that it's not easy, but you get it done and you realize how worth it is. And so going into why it was worth it, let's talk a little bit about like what we saw. Especially what I continued to see, even if I was like hungry or was bored and wanted food, but like kept going because of my accountability, because sometimes it's not even like, it wasn't like I just started seeing the Lord right away, but like having accountability kept me going until I did see these little God ways. So talk a little bit about your experience, kind of like just what you noticed.
Yeah. There were two major things that I wanted to highlight in my fast from this past week. I think one being, as you had kind of pointed out, like it's really interesting. Well, you start slowing down. That's kind of the first thing.
Yeah.
Is you really do, like, your body starts preserving the energy. But like you really start slowing down. And I think to your point that you were making earlier, we live in such a world where everything is fast access and easily accessible, and everything needs to be right now. And that's not how they did it back in Jesus. Like, if you look at Jesus, he walked, he didn't run. And so our body, like, at least I noticed in my body during our fast of just slowing down, and not everything was in such a rush.
Yeah.
Which is countercultural. But part of that too, it really just, I also noticed myself, what you had said too, like during work, just those small instances of like, I don't really see myself as a person that's like a big snacker or something like that.
He's not. I am a snacker. This man does not snack.
But I do have an occasional snack. And so it's interesting, like, I did catch myself, especially like when I was working, of like, okay, when am I catch myself looking for a snack or something small to eat. And it's really cool to pay attention to that the timing of that, because it was mostly around times that either like I had an important meeting coming up, or frankly, I was just bored and wanted to do something. And,
bored snacking.
But it's really interesting, like when you see that Lord, it's like talking to him and being like, well, okay, you can dive a little deeper than that. It's like, well, why am I, maybe this is like, I am a little more anxious about this meeting coming up than I had originally thought. Like, why is that? And you can start talking and praying about that, or the boredom as well. And so that was probably the first thing that I kind of noticed, was like when the timing around when I would want food was usually times that I had something on my mind and was looking to fill something with a dopamine hit, or something like that. So
that's good.
That was kind of the first thing I noticed. Do you want me to dive into that?
Well, I'll add on that too, because I think that was a massive thing I noticed was, wow, when I'm uncomfortable in any capacity, whether it's like me and my sisters got in a tiff last Sunday. It was first day of the fast, and I was like, I want a snack, like I want dinner. And it wasn't even I was hungry. Like, that was the crazy thing, was like literally the first day, even the second day, I wasn't hungry. It was just, I wanted a distraction. And I wanted my brain to focus on something else for 2 seconds away from what was actually bothering me. And I think what's so fascinating about that, especially as Jesus followers and believers, it's like, why are we not in those moments talking to God first? And what's crazy is I found myself like it made me so much more aware of where I ran to that wasn't God to fill. So like, because I couldn't have a snack, because I couldn't have dinner, because I started scrolling on social media, or I started checking my inbox again at like 6:30 at night, which I typically never do. But I was looking for something, especially on like Tuesday night when we had really busy nights, except for like there was Tuesday night, he was gone. So I was like on my own and was just like trying, like, okay, let's watch a movie, let's check our inbox, like let's try to fill ourselves with something that you otherwise would have had food fill, and or just a routine fill, like your dinner, your cooking, all of that. And it's like, well, whoa, why am I not going forward? Like, why am I not filling myself with God at this time? And JP Palooka says this. It was in regards to social media, but I think it pertains to what I realized with fasting. Is he said, if social media shows us anything, and the screen time, you know how that you can track like screen time on your phone, how many hours a day you spend on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. If screen time, social media, if all of that shows us anything, is that when we get to heaven, we're not going to be able to tell Jesus we didn't talk to him more because we didn't have enough time. It is literally a quantifiable way of saying you have 8 hours a day to talk to God that you're spending on Instagram or you're spending on Facebook. And that spoke to me a lot with this experience with fasting and food. It's like, whoa, it is not that I don't have enough time in the day to talk to Jesus. It's that even when I have time, I still try to fill it with something that isn't Jesus. And that was really convicting for me. And so, because when you don't have food, oh my gosh, I think that was piggybacking off of your filling comment. But I think my biggest realization is how much time of our day, of our weeks, of our life we spent on thinking about food, preparing for food, shopping for food, consuming food, trying to exercise to burn off food in our mind. That like it's crazy how much food controls the way we live our life. And so that was kind of my biggest realization, is like, even when food's taken away, I still look for other things to fill me that aren't in order.
That's really good. It's really good. I loved what you said about filling and looking for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And yeah, there's always something else, but if you're not filling that with the Lord, it's definitely something that I would pay attention to.
Yeah.
So glad you saw that.
Well, and two, you think about why. It's like God's our source. Like literally God is God for a reason, and we're made in the image of him. And so when we try to fill ourselves with all these things that aren't from the Lord, I mean, we're getting more and more distracted and more divided, and we're continuing to regress because we aren't charging ourselves. I did a podcast on this not too long ago, friends. If you listen to it on My Heart to Yours, about like, where are you charging? You know, if you're an iPhone and you're charging with an Android charger, it's not that you're a sucky iPhone because you're dead. But you're charging with the wrong thing. And that's literally what we're talking about here, is that like, you might feel confused, you might feel lost, you might feel chaotic. And I'll say this about me. I will say this about you. I was drinking a bajillion things of caffeine a day, eating whenever I wanted to, scrolling on social media, all the stuff. And at night, I had the audacity to say, I'm anxious and I don't know what God wants me to do. Like, I'm going to be very straight up with myself. Like, really, Annie? Are you really anxious, or is your heart racing because of all the caffeine that you're drinking? Which that was very convicting for me. Like, as of now, other than like a small thing in the morning for my pre-workout, I don't drink. Like, even my coffee is mostly decaffeinated. Like, I don't have like the energy drink. Like, I literally just gave that all to my sister today. But it's like this fast really showed me, whoa, there are habits in my life that are preventing me from hearing from God and feeling the peace of the Lord. Not because the peace of the Lord doesn't work or doesn't reach me. It's because I put up so many blockers to feeling it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that peace is definitely something that I was feeling as when I was talking about slowing down.
Yeah.
And, so I can definitely relate to that.
And one more thing. I know you had one more, right?
Yeah.
Well, you say it, and then I'll say it.
Because it kind of relates to this. But on the same lines of like slowing down, and what I found is my second piece is I really was able to. I'm kind of this way, anyways, but I focus on like one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found during this fast is like I really wasn't like letting distractions kind of sway me away from what I was working on.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working on a task, whether I was getting like messages at work or what emails or other people texting me, like all of the other things that can be going on and distracting, like I was really locked in. And I think that was really important to see of like, I kind of had that clarity in mind of like, okay, this is the thing that I'm setting my mind towards. I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. Once that's done, I will get to that. And I really didn't get like anxious about like, okay, that's, I'll have that stuff to, get to later, but that's okay. Like right now I'm just doing this. And so I think that kind of really plays into the overall picture of slowing down and what that brought. So that was kind of the second thing is like I was able to kind of like focus my time in the right direction and not let distractions kind of sway me from one thing to the other. I was able to kind of, it really increased my focus is what I would say. That was kind of the second.
I love that. But you think that that's so biblical. I think I say Matthew 6:33 on every single podcast, but it's because it's what we're called to do. Seek first his kingdom. That's one thing. That is literally one thing we're called to do. It's not seek first his kingdom while you grocery shop and you do this and you think about that and you think about that. So just seek first his kingdom and then everything else follows. And I think that what is required to be in the presence of the Lord? Your attention. Your focus. Like I think the greatest currency that we have to offer in our world is our attention. Our attention is so expensive and we are giving it away for cheap. I mean, that should be on a pillow or a bumper sticker. It is the most expensive thing we can give away and we are giving it away for dirt cheap. It is just, we spend it there and we spend it there and we spend it there and we spend it there all at the same time. And it's like when you're slowed down, and fasting does, it slows everything down. And it kind of ties to my last point, which is it gives you an understanding of like, hey, what is the most, and I think a lot of it is you have amazing energy while fasting, but you also like, sometimes you don't, you're just like, I don't have, but like, it makes you get really clear on what's the most important thing right now. Like, is the most important thing right now getting back to all these whiny people? Probably not. I'm sorry. I don't mean to tell your coworkers whiny. But, like, I'm sure they're lovely people. But same, like, like, for me, is the most important thing to get back to all these DMs right now? No, it's really not. Like, the most important thing is to do this one thing at this one time.
That brings a lot of like comfort, right? Like
so much comfort.
Because I think a lot of the anxiety comes from like, I need to do this, and I just don't have enough time. And it's like, okay, but really you don't have to do all of those things.
No.
And so when you don't have the energy to do all of that, it brings freedom of like, okay, it brings comfort that, okay, I'm okay with just doing this at the time. Yeah. That's all I have energy for, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're called to do. And
Amen.
It really decreases that anxiety.
Well, and I think a lot of the anxiety, if I'm getting clear with myself on where that comes from, half of my to-do list is not stuff that I feel like I need to do. It's stuff I feel like I need to do in order to make so-and-so happy and so feel comfortable. Not me comfortable, but them comfortable. And it's like reputation management. You know what I mean? It's like I need to do this thing in order to make sure they continue to think I'm a good person, or to make sure that they continue to think I'm a good employee, or that they continue to think I'm a good XYZ. And I've talked about this with so many friends, from friends that are also in the corporate world, to friends that are working at a church, to friends that are, it's just with their family members. It's like, I just feel like I have to do all these things, and I have all these things on my to-do list. And I think what fasting does is it helps you get really clear, whoa, is this something that, like, I feel peace that God is calling me to go and do and accomplish with the gifts he's given me? Or am I doing this because I want the way they think of me to increase or maintain the same way? And you get really clear about that. Actually, what I was going to say, the last thing, was it gives you perspective. And you and I were talking about that, but like, when you're on day 3 of a fast and you're feeling amazing, you're feeling clear, you're feeling sharp, I've been feeling a little hungry. I can't even explain it, but it's like, okay, let's take, and these aren't real examples. This is just me throwing out hypotheticals. Let's take so-and-so is mad at me, or my boss is irritated with me, or someone says something that really rubs me the wrong way, or all this. It's literally like rain on a raincoat. It's not that it didn't hit you. It's just that it rolls off a little bit easier. Then it doesn't get absorbed into you as much, because you're like, I genuinely, I am on day 3 of no food. And not in a way that's like you feel miserable, but just like, I don't care. Like, they can, whatever, go ahead, go for it. But like, it gives you such perspective on like what's important to you, and kind of what God is calling, like you said, focus, what God's calling you to focus on right now. And it puts your blinders on. It's like, even this fast this week, and it was like such an enjoyable week with like work and wedding planning and like the experience with it all. I was like, I don't care. And it was so freeing. There were things that I was just so bogged down by for so long, because I was worried about what people would think, or I was worried about so-and-so being mad at me. And this week it was just like, I literally don't have a single nerve in my body that has the capacity to care about that right now. And I'm not saying that in like a selfish way. I'm just saying, I think God, when you fast, he changes your perspective. It's like, yeah, you should have never spent energy on caring about that, because they don't care about that. And you're just making this up in your head. And so that was my biggest thing, and my last biggest takeaway.
Yeah. And also just part of that is kind of like the strength that he gives you. And like, is it the focus? Yes. But also it's like he gives you strength when you're, you're going, like, it'd be not interesting, but it's amazing to see, like, on day 5 of my fast, like, I was sharp, and I actually was probably feeling the best.
I was like, how are you? He's like, I feel the best I felt
on day 5 out of the entire span of it. And it's really, really cool to see the strength that the Lord gives you in that time, when really, like, by the world's, like, it's beyond our comprehension. Like, you can work out on day 5, or you can go this long and work so well and be so focused without food for 5 days. That's insane. And, it really just opens your eyes of like, it's not something I'm doing, it's the strength of the Lord and how much he provides you. So that was also probably another point that I also just wanted to point out too.
And I think to round it out, because my last thing here is I just want to talk about like how we're incorporating this moving forward in this practice. But it's so wild how the Bible, which has been around for years, secular science culture is just now catching up with so much of what the Bible has taught about for years, like meditation, fasting. I mean, my Dr. Mindy, the woman I love and adore, she is by no means a Christian, but even she talks about how when you fast for longer than 3 days, you tap into a higher intelligence, is what she calls. And she's like, your body was designed to be like, it was designed to heal itself. I mean, it's phenomenal. And when you don't eat for that long, see, some of you listening to this, you're like, that's crazy, that's unsafe, that's a eating disorder, like all these things. And it's like, well, no. It actually, when you fast and you trust God in your body to do things in your body that you never could. I mean, day 3, I'm not even kidding. Like, your stem cells get reactivated, your immune system resets. You, like, cancer cells in your body are targeted starting day 3. Look at the science. It's wild. But you think of how God designed the body, it is crazy. And I don't think it's a coincidence that God designed our body in a way that when we stop doing stuff and we get out of our body's way and let God work, that's when actual crazy miraculous healing takes place. And when people are like, miracles don't exist anymore, I'm like, oh, really? Do a fast. Do a 5-day fast. Do a 3-day fast. You will experience a miracle. And it might not be a miracle you know to say thank you for yet. I literally was telling Hunter, like, day 4, I was like, I'm so grateful you're doing this. I'm getting excited. My phone's falling out. But I'm so grateful you're doing this, that my future husband's doing this, because I refuse to die before Hunter. We met with can I tell the financial planners? I am so grateful I'm older than Hunter, because I'm like, I want to kick the can before he does, because I don't want to live without him. And so this financial planner, he made us insert like what age we expect to live to or something. And so I put Hunter at 95 and myself at 94, because I was like, I'm not dying after you. Anyways, I say this, I digress. But I'm so grateful he's doing this, because we have no idea. He could have had like really scary cells in his body or something, but day 4, those are kicking the can. Like, the body literally is designed to target those things. It's actually fasting is a huge protocol, especially in like European countries, for specifically that, like any type of arthritis, toxins, all of that. Again, I encourage you, I'm not a scientist, but Dr. Mindy Pelz, I've stalked her for many years. She's helped me a ton. Go look at her YouTube. She has like 1.5 million followers. And she has her doctorate, obviously, but she talks a lot about the science, which I love. So that's a little bit about the science about things, but how that aligns with, it just blows my mind that God designed our body in such a fashion. And like, yeah, it's amazing that the greatest miracles in our body take place when we stop doing things to it, because we can't take credit. It's like, I just stopped eating, but God did all these things in my body. So yeah, moving forward, anything else you want to say on that?
No, I think and this might probably tie into like where you're heading with our next steps, but kind of just to your point of like, yes, this is just one spiritual practice. Like, is fasting an end all be all for everyone? Absolutely not. But like, this is the purpose of us getting on here and sharing, is just our experience for it. Mm-hmm. Maybe if you're a first time user, never fasted before, hopefully providing some context to that. We in no way, shape, or form mean to like idolize this or make this our God. This is definitely just one of the many spiritual practices that you could put into place in your everyday life.
Hunter with the disclaimer. I should edit that and put it at the beginning. I'm over here like, it's a miracle! And he's like, but the disclaimer.
Just
I appreciate you being my disclaimer. No, it's needed for sure.
Yeah, but
moving forward, I think what I'm committed to, and again, men and women, very different. We really liked fasting together. That was something we really enjoyed. I'm probably going to do a 3-day fast. And again, this is not an idol. I think when I fasted in the past, it was like, I took you guys through my schedule before. I believe it was psychotic. I mean, it was like crazy. Not doing that. If I can't do, like, I want to do a 3-day fast every month. If I can't do, but a lot of that's because of the autoimmune stuff I have going on. That's the best fast for autoimmune things, etc. But I say this because if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's fine. Like the month of the what? It might not happen. That's okay. But we definitely want to do it together. And then other than that, like Dr. Mindy has so many videos. There's like so many different types of fasts. I also like, for me, I'm someone that I prefer, like I like fasting when it's not a week before my cycle. I like fasting like intermittently, like I'll go 16, 17, 18 hours off, 8 or so hours on in the eating window. But my biggest commitment is just a 3-day fast per month. I think that was, I have really no interest in doing like a 5-day fast, I'll be honest. But 3 days for me was great, and it taught and it stretched me. I think let's also call it what it is. It's not easy. It is very hard. It was a huge challenge. I played D1 sports. I've had some insane workouts. This challenge was harder than like anything. Hunter could say the same in regards to like working out hard and doing crazy Ironman races and all this. Like sometimes fasting, actually you've not told me that, but sometimes fasting can be harder than a lot of those. And it's in its own way. It's just its own,
It's mental.
it's a mental challenge. It's
And
hard.
spiritual. Yeah.
But we live in a world that craves comfort. And I think C.S. Lewis said, or maybe it was like J.P. Palooka, I don't know. Two very different people. But he said that comfort is the greatest weapon of this generation by the enemy. The enemy loves for us to stay comfortable. But when we get out, when we challenge, when we feel that tension, Joel Thomas said, the tension point of our lives is often the focal point of God's activity. I love that. And it's true. In fasting, lots of tension. But it exposed so much. So what about you moving forward, baby?
Yeah, I think along those same lines, like our commitment together is, making that probably once a month schedule of 2 to 3 days, maybe longer. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it's definitely something that I definitely want to incorporate into a monthly regular rhythm going forward here. And yeah, so that's just something that I think I'm committed to. And yeah, moving on. So yeah.
Yay. All right. So y'all, I really do encourage you, like with fasting, all of that. I mean, one, look in the Bible. Look at like Chat GPT. How many people in the Bible does it reference that they fasted?
But
I would
also
imagine
give
a
some
lot.
context too of like why were they fasting?
Why were they fasting? Yeah, absolutely. And there was a Buckhead Church sermon done a couple weeks ago. I can't remember if it was Matt or Joel, but they did it on fasting. And I would encourage you to listen to that. If you're wanting to try fasting, I highly encourage Dr. Mindy Pelz. I would encourage looking her up on YouTube. He's smiling because I'm obsessed with her. But I think what's so cool about her, and even the more you listen to her, you might say, well, she's not a faith-based. No, she's not. But I actually I think it's good to get outside of the bubble of like, and I'm not saying experiment with different faiths and stuff like that, but like you can learn from so many different types of people. And if we just stay in a Christian bubble, you never see how God is moving outside of our bubble. Like with Dr. Minnie, she's not faith-based, but everything she says, I'm like, Scripture supports what you're saying. You are literally saying what the Bible says, and you don't even know it's from the Bible. And that's how I see God more. And so I would encourage you to check out Dr. Mindy. She's also very practical. Like if you practically want to start fasting, you need to start safe. You need to start, like Hunter and I had experience with fasting before we did a 3 and 5 day fast. We weren't just like kicking the can, eating KFC, and then like we're not going to eat for 3 days. Like that's not safe. So, and if you have like blood sugar things and all that, like please look at her videos. We're not the experts, but we are someone who did it, and we saw the Lord a lot in it, and we're going to continue together. So
I'm sure you answer questions people reach out.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm actually very passionate about fasting. It did completely change my life. I can also speak to making it a god and making it an idol, and how God got me away from that. And then the ways I'm going about it now to where it's like, it's a spiritual discipline, but it's not my God. Much like how Jesus is like, Sabbath is for man, man's not for Sabbath. It's like fasting is for man. Man is not for fasting. So, anyways, all right. We love you.
Bye.